Hi, I read All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. It was published in 2014. Um, it looks like this. Sorry, one of my students is actually reading it right now, so I don't have my actual copy of it. Um, but the setting is World War II, um, and there are two main characters: Marie Laure, who is Parisian. She's French. She lives with her father in Paris, and her father works at the Museum of Natural History, is a locksmith or a master of locks, I mean. And Marie Laure is blind. She went blind when she was 6, and so her father builds her a scale model of their neighborhood that they live in, every single detail, so that she can memorize it based on feelings, so that she can leave their home and navigate where she's going. And in 1940, when Germans invade France and occupy Paris, her and her dad flee to Saint-Malo, which is on the coast in Normandy. It's a little pirate town. It's a walled city. And once there, her dad builds her another scale model, and they're staying with their great uncle in Saint Malo. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, our other main character is an orphan German boy who grows up. His name's Werner, and he grows up with his younger sister, Jetta. And he ends up finding this old radio at the orphanage they live in and repairs it and keeps it hidden throughout most of their childhood. And he becomes this master radio fixer in their small coal mining town. So when the war is going on and the Nazis are occupying this town, he becomes well known and ends up fixing a radio for a captain who ends up writing him this really great recommendation for one of the most elite technical schools in Germany. And it ends up fueling his career in the Nazi regime to be a radio technician who tracks the radio signals of the French resistance. But I really love this book for a lot of reasons. But there are some major themes that tie really well in with a lot of other World War II books, such as Fate, Duty, Free Will, and Anthony Doerr, not Andrew Doerr. Anthony Doerr has a lot of really great quotes throughout this whole book. This whole book is so well written. But one of the quotes that stuck with me that really just connected to the Fate, Duty, Free Will theme that Werner, the German boy, really struggles with. And it's this quote that just is the little voice inside his head throughout the whole book. Sorry, my puppy's barking. But open your eyes and see what you can with them before they close forever. And throughout the whole book, he really struggles with what is right and what is wrong, and being inside the Nazi regime and doing and following through on all of his orders. And another major theme is the interconnectedness, not just of our two main characters, because their stories run parallel throughout most of the book and then eventually connect. They eventually join up somehow. I don't want to give anything away. But also just because everyone in the world is interconnected, everything, it's that whole butterfly effect. So, and it's super cool just seeing how small the world really is in this book in real life. Everything really holds true. But one of my favorite passages in this book, and it was so hard to choose because there are so many, is when Werner is still young and he's fixing the radio. It's after he's fixed the radio for the German captain and his wife, and him and the captain are talking, and Werner says that everything, that the war is everything. People's decisions throughout the war are done for peace, for the greater good of the world. And the captain turns to him and starts laughing and says, "No, you know the greatest lesson of history is that history is whatever the victors say it is. That's the lesson. Whoever wins, that's who decides history. We act in our own self-interest. Of course we do. Name me a person or a nation who does not. The trick is figuring out where your interests are." And this holds true today throughout all of history. Anywhere you go, you're going to hear that person's side of the history, whether it's World War II and it's the American side. But if you go to Germany, it's a completely different history, and they teach it differently. They talk about it differently than we do. So it still holds absolutely true today. The War of Northern Aggression, if you go to the South and they're talking about the Civil War. So that was just a quote that really stuck with me. And I would absolutely recommend this book. I've recommended it to pretty much all of my students, and a lot of them have taken me up on reading it and have loved it. And the main thing is that Dor uses, he bounces between the two main characters' points of view, so you get to see both sides, you get to know both people's thoughts, but he doesn't just stop there. He also bounces around between the bombing of Saint-Malo, and then back when Marie-Laure and Werner are children and Marie is 6, or to when, and then 6 years later in 1940 when they moved to Saint-Malo. So it's really cool. It really keeps you on your toes. It keeps you wanting to know what's happened, why this happened, because you do eventually learn that. But it also gives it a whole new side of World War II. Normally World War II books like The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, Night, it's all about the Holocaust side. So this kind of goes into the technological side, like the soldier side of it, more so than those books, and how fear is a really good control factor in the Nazi regime. And my most favorite thing was probably Dor's language. He described things in such a unique way, and like I said, I had such a hard time picking passages and quotes and everything because I just fell in love with the way he used words. Even him describing words in the book. What are words but sounds these men shape out of breath, weightless vapors they send into the air of the kitchen to dissipate and die. Like, every sentence just had me hanging on. I stayed up all night reading this because it just hooked me, and it's a lengthy book as well, but it's so good, and it doesn't feel like a lengthy book. But I would absolutely recommend this book and have to every single person I meet.